Okay, sick. Now that we are ready to go. So, every day, every waking moment, action occurs. Now, how you get to action is a whole different philosophy. But today, we're focusing on why. Why do we do anything? So, just have to name a couple actions, right? So, walking. No, oh shit. Walking would be one of them. Running. Similar, but you do one for one reason and one for the other, and you usually follow one with the other, right? You're not always going to run, but you're going to walk. Then there's eating, you know? Eating, drinking. We can eat different things and drink different things, and why we do those things, you know? There's talking. Yeah, you guessed it. You guessed it, talking. What else could we do? Fuck. Let's just start with that. Let's start with that. That's all good. It's all the most basic. Okay, just undo, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. I need to select. And we need to kind of. How many do we have here? I don't want to space them out, just because we're working with a lot here. Okay, cool. So we have these actions. A thick ass line. We have these actions. Right? Each one of them taking a certain amount of energy to do, some of them taking the little amount of thought. Most of these you don't even think about these while you do them. You really don't. They're just instinct. You look at a bottle of water, you're like, I feel like it's been a while since I had a drink of water, so you take a drink of water like I'm doing right now. I'm talking right now. I'm not even. I mean, I have an idea of what I want to say, but is it gonna come out the same way? No, no, it's not. So this is why we have a diagram, so we can see all of our actions that we do each day. Why we walk, why we run, why we drink, why we talk, why we eat. And sometimes they go hand in hand. You know. This was a bad example, but yeah, maybe we can move these around real quick, just so I can, just so I could link some of these together. So we've got these actions, and they're all linked together, right? In fact, to a certain degree. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why it did that. To a certain degree. They are all linked together because they are all muscular action, right? All of these are muscular action. So in the center we have action. That is the one thing that ties them all together. But they all have different qualities, right? And the fact of why each of these are different comes from a different aspect of reality, right? So walking and running, it's motion, right? I should have just copied them again, kept the one. There we go. But that's motion, right? But then isn't talking motion to a degree? It's muscular motion, right? So motion is an action, right? So if we were talking about these as our generalization, because you could walk here, walk there, walk here, run there, drink this, drink that, eat this, eat that, say this, say that, but there's an even broader generalization because of how in depth the English language is. It's the most confusing language because it has a scale of degree in language. So really we want to focus on the individual actions themselves, not the classification as much. So where are we walking? Well, ideally you're not running you're running outside. Outside is typically where you're running. So these are going to be like indoor locations, right? So we'll have the kitchen for one. Oh, let's make that 12. We have the kitchen for one. We have the bathroom. We have the bedroom. Maybe a laundry room. Maybe you have the laundry room somewhere in the house already. You know, it could be in your bathroom, your kitchen, your bedroom, whatever your setup is. I know there's so many different variations out there. Alright, we'll just do these four for the sake of and to be honest, we wanna move these out. So here you have walking. Now, technically, you could run there, right? And technically, you could talk there, but you know, that's another thing of why we are here in the first place, right? Now, why you would run to the bathroom is different than why you would walk to the bathroom. Maybe you're walking to the bathroom to just grab a Q-tip or a pair of clippers or something, you know, like something that you might keep in the bathroom. Or you're running to the bathroom because you really got to go to the bathroom. Or you're talking in the bathroom because, you know, there's no toilet paper in the roll, so you just sit there and wonder what you're going to do with your life. So, all of these reasons would go into their own little branch here, right? And it's just we're just building a diagram here, and really just about drawing a tree. poorly made tree, but yeah, like. Oh yeah, let's get kitchen. And believe it or not, those same those same things that you're talking about. Oh shit, no, actually we don't want to connect those yet. We don't want to connect those yet. You know the worst part is all of these things, they don't matter in the end, just so you know. But they do, because eating keeps you alive, drinking keeps you alive. Breathing would probably be a better one. So instead of running, let's change this to breathing, right? Because walking, running, that's whatever. It's semantics, another part of the English language. So another weird example, right, is for breathing. So what 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 would you think that I put for breathing here? Like, it's actually, you know what, we're using this moment to do like a different type of exercise, right? So we have oxygen. What else do we breathe in? Well, a little bit of hydrogen, right? There's like tiny percent. Uh, there's a, nitrogen when we fart, I guess. No, that's yeah, no, that's nitrogen, I believe. And then there's well, instead of, I'll just put fumes, really, instead of like stuff like carbon dioxide and stuff like. So, but for compounds, we're talking about fumes because those aren't helping us really, unless it's like anesthesia or something like that. But really, that's just a combination of all these. So really, you just have this general air, right? And believe it or not, all of these things interact with each other. And also interact with your atmosphere around you. They are also related to the things going on over here. So there's that, right? Then for drinking, oh my god, I could drink. Oh man, I could drink fucking water. That's a good one, right? Uh, alcohol, I guess you'd probably see some people drinking, right? And then probably some healthy water-based alternative like juice or something. And these all interact with each other in some strange way, which also interacts with your environment. Do eating real quick. Food. Manufactured byproduct. That was a big change, wasn't it? Yeah, we're getting a little bit in there. Dyes. Preservatives. And then all these. All these things are pretty much the same thing. Which also, especially preservatives and dyes, you'll find that in your drinking as well. So, you know, here we have this nice little action web, right? We're doing things. We're seeing people. There's a lot of interactions. So all these are basically relationships and how we understand those relationships as a whole. So, like, how do you feel about walking? How do you feel about breathing? How do you feel about drinking? How do you feel about eating? Now, we're separating any political bias here when we try and think of these things just as they are, and how they affect us. Politics is really more about how it affects people and their relationships to everything, but necessarily it's more or less we are talking about us and how it affects us. So, okay, if we're going to talk about the big crisis right now, the climate change, right? You know where that's coming from? You know how cars work? Cars use oxygen in their combustion method. So we are depleting our oxygen by driving our cars, right? And that is self-inflicting. It's harmful. We're breathing the fumes that is harmful to our bodies. Not only are we destroying our environment, we're destroying our bodies. But guess what? They're required, aren't they? Because we're a globalization mindset society. And instead of focusing on the localization, making sure that you are locally provided for, locally providing. I'm not gonna get into it. We're gonna focus on this. We're gonna focus on action, how it relates to everything, you know, and just the grand scheme of things. Because really, talking is the one that is actually the most important, because that's the only that technically branches off into a much larger concept than action. It's idea, right? Idea is the biggest portion of this, right? Because in order to get action, you need idea, right? In order to get action, you need idea. I guess we could use a different color line for that, maybe. Ooh, like a deep red. Just to Just to show. No. Okay, no, we put a circle around it, maybe. We put a circle around action. Because, and then we draw a little puppet string here, right? You do the double-edged. So in this made up fictional diagram, this guy's got 3 fingers on each hand, but it's a concept of idea being the drive for action, right? And then idea is also the drive for a specific type of action, right? It's talking, eating, drinking, breathing, walking, right? You know, it is the drive. So when I switch back to the talking, who are we talking to? Is it some people talk to things, and those are typically crazy people. Talk about the things. We talk about people. Ugh, probably my least favorite to talk about, but that is technically you have to talk about people because people have ideas, and another big set one is ideas. So we have these 3 things: things, people, and ideas. So this is a manifestation of of 3 concepts: living, non-living, which that probably would be a better example, right? But most of the time when you want to think about talking and communication, animals and stuff like that, it's harder to put in that category because it takes such a more structured research than just walking up to somebody, understanding that they know English, you know English, and establishing about like boundaries there. You know, like that's a different story. But if they speak cat, you know, it's like whatever. So we have things, people, and ideas to generalize the types of relationships that we have, right? So with people, people are animals, animals are animals. So we're all the same to a degree. Because if I talk to my cat, I say, "Hi, kitty. How are you?" You know, and I rub her head, and she's happy, and she knows that she's in a good place, and she feels loved, and she's well fed and cared for. So it's a matter of what these relationships entitle. So with things, and people, and ideas, very complicated. So we put a more direct line in here, you know, we show that, oh, well, it's super complicated, so it deserves 3 lines each. Why not? I may have spaced them poorly, but it's not really a big deal. So, we have things. What kinds of things are there? Well, there's so many things out there that I don't really feel like explaining them all, but we'll give a few examples. So like maybe we'll have materials, you know, have materials, and then under materials we'll have fucking, you know, like bricks, or just people talk to brick walls. People talk to trees, you know. People talk to it's called pipes. Okay, because that's like metal, and it's like, I guess, sheet metal. You know, just metal. Like clearly all action is related, so we just have to group them all together, you know. It's like just because everything's connected, right? Everything is a thing, or a person, or an idea. I don't even want to finish these. That's how like almost useless it feels. But then again, it's the provisions. Poisons. Maybe we should get a little bit more philosophical with it, you know? That's what I'm thinking. Because as the diagram stands, you know, it's we have all these things, and we have all the relationships for these things. So where? Oh, you know what's crazy? Is poisons can also be ideas. So we have a cross path here. And then people can also be poisons as well. And you know what the worst part about this is? Provisions could be people. And they could also be ideas. Materials. Some people view materials as yeah, some people view people as materials. And some ideas are so it doesn't matter what you really want to talk about, what you really. To be fair, I did not plan the shape of this diagram. This is really just how it became, you know. So action stems from an idea. Action also entitles that everything comes from an idea, because there was no thought, there was no idea before the action. Then How did the action come to be? No, so that's either conscious or subconscious. And I think that, this is what life is. Really, this is it right here.